This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I wanted to make sure that it's really important that you sign in on the sign-in sheet. Again, I know I've been saying it over and over, but for those of you who just arrived, we want to make sure that your presence here is recorded because number one, we get back with you for any consecutive meetings or any information about the skate park design, and number two, also to let the city know how important this is so that we can prioritize this. That data is something that they're not normally getting, and then this participation is wonderful, and we want to let them know by those signatures that let them know that you're here. Just put your email, you put Mr. X, I don't care, I'm just kidding, no, put your name, your email, whatever, as long as we can get back with you on some information. But I'm going to let Jeff back here do the intro instead of me talking.
No, this is great. This is an amazing turnout. We had like 5 seats, so we weren't sure how many people were going to show up, so this is way better than just 5 people. I'm Jeff Bagg, I'm the city planner. I'll just say a quick word about myself and then I'm going to introduce Tito. And there's a group of people here who have been really committed to kind of working this forward. So I do want to acknowledge, we're going to try this, right? I didn't practice any of this, but we got Jeff Burke, Eddie Kamini, Angie Falkowski, Matt Bauscher. Where's Matt? Okay, thank you. And Noah McManus?
Sure.
Yes, okay. So there's a group of people who are behind this that have helped nudge this concept forward. Last year, the year before, the town did an open space and recreation plan. And so that's kind of our formal document that deals with all sorts of sports, open space, and how people in Easthampton recreate. And so the skate park kind of rose up pretty high through that planning process. And that really helps us start this conversation, and then it helps us pursue grant funds for actual construction. So that's one of the main things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the location, which if you're not aware is in the back of this building. There's a parking lot, and then off to the right there's sort of a shed and a dumpster and a couple trailers. And it's this area that is kind of uniquely shaped, which we hope kind of creates a cool place to have a design. So the focus tonight is design. We want your input while you're here. And before I introduce Tito, I don't get to tell this story very often, but I think this is pretty appropriate, is that I grew up in Easthampton. I went to Whitebrook, and I went to Maple Street in Whitebrook, and sometime around 7th grade, I quit playing baseball. I stopped Little League, and I think my parents were a little shocked at first because it wasn't the sport that it is today. But instead of getting kind of mad and frustrated, my dad built me a mini ramp. So I had a little 3-foot mini ramp in my backyard. I broke my arm really bad when I was 16, right at last day of high school. And but ever since then, I've still skated, and I still skate today. So I kind of getting support from the group. And it's still something that I try to do. I can still do a kickflip sometimes. So I think with that, just we want to have a productive conversation. We hope everyone's just civil and polite. The bathrooms are right there, halfway through the hall. If you need to take a break, stand up, walk around. There's water. So I think with the nuts and bolts out of the way, I just want to take a second to introduce Tito Parada. Is with the platform. Are you platform 43 or just platform?
Platform.
The platform group.
Whatever.
So we got some money from our Community Preservation Act fund. We solicited some proposals, and as a group, we picked Tito's firm out of Florida to come up here and do this design work with us. And so having you all here is just super important, and we want to take as much time as we need to get your input. And I think we are going to have a second meeting, which maybe you'll touch on. The date's not determined, but it'll probably be mid to end of May. So if you can get that sign-up sheet, if you want to follow along and come back to the second meeting, that's going to be the best way you do it, unless you are attached to social media. So I think without further ado, I want to introduce Tito and have Tito take it away.
Thank you. What's up, guys? Hi, my name's Tito Parada. I live in Florida, so I'm coming to your new town here. To this new town for me. It's awesome. I really like it, and I really appreciate you guys selecting us to help you out with your skate park. So a little background on me and platform. I am a founder along with a couple people from Florida that for Platform. Platform is a fairly new company, but we're made up of some veterans. My partners are Ryan Clements from Florida, Border, Excel Marketing, et cetera, and myself. I used to work, lead designer for Team Payne Skate Parks for 17 years, then founded Pivot Custom, built a few, high-profile parks like Lot 11 underneath I-95 in Miami and a few other things. That's my design. My crew and team built it. We have very kind of unique to skateboarding, but not so unique for the city of like a design approach where we're very involved with the construction to make sure that all design intent is followed through, and then and so we do that through qualifications and whatnot, so that the crews that are selected are not going off like taking carte blanche and just going off with their own thing. But we still kind of honor the creative approach of skate parks and skate park design build without being architectural design build. I know, a bunch of talk, right? So anyways, so about 6 months ago, we started Platform Group. And so, one of my things is to get partners that want to know the skate park world so that we can kind of take the good things of skate park design and development and just kind of just run with it. And so, so we have a lot of work, so much so that we're not going nuts on our social media, but pretty much it's going to get blasted pretty soon, so get ready. So that being said, I've been skateboarding since 1984. I can barely skate now because my body's torn up from it. 20 years of concrete park building can take a toll on you, but still try. So with that, thank you, the Easthampton Skate Park Association, and you guys were named already. I really am super stoked on this crew because everyone's very versed. They know their stuff, and and we've been working behind the scenes to not just show up, for me to not show up and just be like, hey, tell me what you want, or like come up, we're kind of hitting the ground running. So with that, we're gonna show you a concept and we're gonna get your input. All right, the way it's gonna work, it's like we're gonna go over some challenges and some stuff, some site description, and then at some point we're gonna just discuss the concept. I mean, I can, it's what you call a technical input. So those of you that have been skating for a while and have an opinion, by all means, like, when we get to the nitty gritty, raise your hand, talk to me, we can go around like that. And then towards the end, we'll have a more general Q&A where, if you have questions that aren't so technical or any general questions, we can go around the room and just discuss it. I don't come in here and throw paper down and tell you to draw me what you want. That's not what we do here. We kind of are skateboarders. We understand, any other disciplines that use the park, whether you're a biker or ride a scooter. We're going to talk it all out. And this is the type of session that we have. It's basically a healthy brainstorm. So moving forward, housekeeping, safe distance, thank you. Number 2, QR code. There's a QR code on a poster up there. Get on your phone, just take a picture with your regular camera for those who don't know, or there's a link to the address here, and that's going to be a survey. It's very basic. That survey is part of the data aspects of this meeting. So that's going to let me know who bikes, who scooters, who longboards, who mountain bikes, who skateboards. It's really important that I know that, and it's also going to tell me where you're from through your zip code. So with that, we get that information. Then you're going to have other opinion boxes where you can write whatever you want, anything. So I'm cool. Anyway, so with that, we're trying to do touchless and direct talk. So just because we just got out of this gnarly few years and we want to be sensitive to anyone that's still concerned. With that, let's talk about priorities. We're here for the skate park, phase 1. However, the funding comes with a bigger vision, like a multi-year vision. And that's very important to us. So when we approach this project, we come up from a concept design phase that it's gonna go beyond that phase 1. So phase 1 is the skate park itself. Phase 2 would be the trail that connects from the bike path to the skate park and beyond. So the reason, and that trail to me is very critical because, children that don't have a driver's license have to get to the park and most likely have a bike. Boring statistics, the median magical age of skateboarding is 14. I know a lot of us are older, but that's the magical age. That's 7 to 17. That's that at-risk critical age. So we want to kind of, plan for future access so that someone can ride their bikes and not get trampled by a semi-truck. So anyway, because no one wants that. Then the third phase is an actual bowl. When we did a site visit a few weeks back, and it was amazing. Like I designed. I don't hire a designer. I'm the designer, and then I get to a site, and that's when you really see the lay of the land. Another one of the things about this project was the using an underutilized space. You have a small town, you have natural boundaries and things like that. So let's come up with a creative way to activate new areas that are often left hanging. So so that's why we're looking at this from master plan base to. I'll keep going. So I'm gonna show you some pictures because talking is not gonna get us there. So design your dream skate park. That's our main goal. We're here to talk. If I don't get it right, that's beautiful. This is why we're here. I want to engage you. All right. So I don't want to get it right. We're here to initiate conversation. So if you're passionate about it, speak out. If you don't feel like speaking out, fill out the survey. If you don't feel like doing that, talk to me after the Q&A. I'll be here. We can chat. It's all goody. And then obviously develop new ideas. My design style is multi-brain. So I don't work without you guys. Every part, those who know me and my work know that every single park I've done does not look the same. Every other company, their parks, you can spot them anywhere. That's not how we roll. So part of my design, my creative approach is to work together. So I really want to engage you and encourage you guys to speak up. Cool ideas? Awesome. Crazy ideas? Awesome. Only limits is safety, imagination, and budget. All right. This is the location. Obviously, we are right here. Bam, right about here somewhere. All right, City Hall, fire station, did I get that right?
Yep.
And police too, right?
Yep.
Oops, missed that. So this is the location, approximate location that was identified on the RFQ for design. So this is what we're talking about. This dotted line is a potential trail connection that we're talking about on the second future phase to really get this puppy moving, get circulation. All right. Then this other longer dash line is the bike trail. You guys have an awesome trail system, by the way. Next, the trail connection. This is kind of what we're envisioning. You guys have an awesome farmers market. There's already, we're sensitive about all that. Jeff has been really amazing at really updating us to, I don't want you guys to think, oh, they're just skaters, so we're going to do a skate park. No, everything matters. We want eyes in there. We want to, there's going to have to be some give with parking here and there, but we're going to minimize that. We're going to mitigate that as we're trying to get everybody happy and engage this thing so that we eventually have flow through it. There's more eyes. It's a safe situation by having more people around and seeing, in the park self-supervised by just, getting good passive traffic going through. So that's the trail connection that we're talking about, potential phase 2. Bowl edition, phase 3. When we're there, this lawn right here is just magical. It's just like a good space. And so how rad would it be to kind of create just an amenity in there? Aside from that, things that we're thinking about, it's just cool little seating areas, just chill areas. It's really a beautiful area of the town, and it would be cool to kind of activate it by not just you know, the skate, the bike path, roller skates, whatever, you know, like we want to kind of just make it a really nice place to just travel through. Because the other option is to be on Payne Avenue, where you're kind of, you know, kind of next to big metal objects on wheels. It can get sketchy. The design area. Okay, so here some of you have seen the concept already. So we came up with like a little sampler platter of a skate concept. It's very challenging because there's heavy elevations from here to here, and then we're also flanked by some environmental zones and easements that we have to be sensitive about. You know, we could get very creative on that, but if we encroach in too far this way, we're gonna be paying a lot of money just to kind of protect things, and just, you know, and that has costs that could eat up this square footage of, you know, fun flowing skate park. This is the bowl, again, phase 3, last priority, but it's really cool. Oh, and the cell phone tower that I went ahead and we threw one in there just so you can look at it. So, because, you know, it's a little thin little path in between that. So we wanted to assess all that. So here it is. Bike trail, little offshoot, takes you through the beautiful woods in this, you know, busy town, and then we come in this way, and then all of a sudden you're engaging this whole area. So that's a thought. We're gonna continue. Here's a closer view. All right. So my initial, from the skater's perspective, dream was to do all Plaza. But there's a heavy transition influence, and there's also a huge lack of good terrain in the area. I mean, there's just, you know, only if you build your own stuff, you really don't have much. Everything's just conflicted and stuff from, you know, previous things or stuff you have around. There's a couple good bowls, but they can be intimidating for some of the beginners and whatnot. So the thought is to create more like a kind of control a little bit of that DIY flowing like type zone, and just create some really fun, user-friendly, kind of low impact, you know, 3.5 to 4.5 foot height, kind of like, you know, mini ramp style, but honoring the medium of concrete, where you're getting away from, like, you know, too many 90 degrees and stuff, and just creating like a little fun zone. All right, so we'll see the 3D schematics and all that. Then we kind of blend in, and it's a little tough because it's narrow here, and we still have to have room for the trail and ADA access. You know, eventually this would stop here for phase 1, so that we have an option for someone to come in and actually access the park. Let's say there's a contest and there's an adaptive event. You know, we want to make sure someone just wants to come in on a wheelchair and check the action. There's, you know, we want to be sensitive about that. But here, you know, this whole section also had to kind of act like a retaining wall. So a lot of parks, they build a retaining wall, they spend a lot of money engineering it. Well, let's make it skatable. So, you know, we put some giant banks here with some brick print, bank to ledge, flat coping, little extension here, and then this one's, giant banks have a little radius on the bottom. This is a little area that's more, you know, kind of street, steep bank, you know, kind of like a pretty heavy bank. I actually changed that from when we last spoke, with flat coping on top, embedded on top, it's really angle iron, goes in, and then the edge stakes out on the, whatever. Anyway, so, you know, this pretty tight here because there's like some situations here with the outlets for this pond. So we really wish we could just fatten this puppy out, but we just don't have that luxury. So here we have a real simple, like, you know, a hubba that you can access 2 ways, and a badass rail. I said it. We also have a good hip. This is standard hip, but I extended the bank here so it could be an architectural, like, cantilever type design, so that way we're not encroaching on the bottom here in case we have to be sensitive about that. But it's also like, you know, if you get enough speed, you can blast out into the bank and not just run out. And it also helps the flow. Then, because we really wanted that street aspect, every single park you have a ledge, you hit it, and then you're on a quarter pipe or something. Like, there's no breathing room. So we just gave you just a little landing strip, like a 57-foot long, simple ledge, flat rail, another different height ledge, mani pad with little angles in the bottom so you can slappy curve them and stuff. You know, ledge limb. And then another ledge over here, everything bare, you know, everything, you know, this mirrors that one, but it has just kind of like wally options on each end. And this is a regular bank, because we have a retention pond here, and then like there's some stormwater situations here that we want to be careful with. But here it's just a simple concrete bank to curb. It's like 10 inches slight angle, but like pure concrete, but built with the pool block mode. So it's like, you know, just like slappy east and stuff, but it lasts a little bit too low for pegs to hurt, but just enough to kind of have fun. Elevated on top, you can do a quick in and out mani pad thing, because it's curb height on top, but about 10 or 11 inches on the bottom. And obviously we're trying to do integral color. So instead of like, so the concrete has dyes, so that so there's some variation, and it's basically to break up that that concrete glare. So as we all know, most of you probably snowboard. If you go on a sunny day without sunglasses, you're kind of screwed. So you know this concrete does the same thing. So what we like to do is just use color dyes and then even some designs to break that glare up. But we don't do it in a way that it takes away from the budget. We use a very light tone of the concrete color, and then we get just enough to create that contrast and reduce it without kind of breaking the bank. Because that's like the stuff we have to judge. A lot of these parks are often underfunded and have way more of a need than our municipal friends understand. So, you know, we take it up to ourselves to kind of try to like, you know, yield as much skate park as possible. Oh, this is a tight little quarter pipe, less cantilever, kind of an art thing. We did one in Lot 11, it's pretty cool. It's not where you want to learn how to drop in and stuff, but it's tight enough that it's like super challenging. And if you skate it like a pool shallow end, it gets a lot funner, you know. We want to add to art, you know, we figured like it'd be so cool with the farmer's market and stuff to kind of have an eyepiece to kind of catch, you know, people, whether you're in the farmer's market or simply just anywhere, you know. So, you know, Easthampton, this is just subject to change, it's just to engage you guys, but I think it's pretty cool. So we put a little seating wall here. We're trying to do a thing where I have this theory that you don't want to pour concrete if you can't skate it. So, and I also don't want to put rails that are just gonna be a maintenance headache. So we want to, you know, have a good, I call it landscape canvas, little grade up the slab here so that you can just kind of get to all those, you know, just kind of have a very awesome opportunity to do either cool landscaping with rocks and local trees, et cetera, and also create a cool little seating hangout. You know, people can chill and stuff. So it's, you know, kind of bring the park into the skate park. So, and then this also would act like, you know, it's a safety thing, you know, like boards running out, hitting you in the back of the noggin, et cetera. So yeah, so here we have this transition element. We had some choices. Do we want to put the transition in the back and create really closed-in spots? Probably not. So we had to bring it to the front, but believe it or not, it looks steep and stuff, but it's not. We're talking like this height. So anyway, developing some ideas, we were like, man, how cool would it be to fit a spine? And I'm like, how am I going to fit a spine in there? So then we thought, man, a cool little like your DIY spot has like a 2.5, 3 foot little like, you know, I'm not going to say what you would do on it, but if I could skate, you know, a little back blunt type of situation, you know, and then come transfer to the other side and stuff. So, you know, this is all about it. These would actually be rolled over even more. I understand that the hips come out, we create a weird pocket, but hey, we can adjust all that. Right now, we just want to get your feelings. It is wide enough. These hips can be tighter. It could be, right now, you could literally like 50-50 around it. That's how loose they are. But that's somewhat like when I was young, I had this thing, I couldn't skate hips. But then once I skated a super long radius one, like, oh man, this is easy, you know? So we're just trying to add all those little nuggets in there to just have as much as we can so that when someone's learning, they have options to really progress. Now, our whole thing is if a skater needs to come in here and we don't want this to be obsolete. There's something for them to try for decades on, So the beauty of transition is that you have all these things. There's so much you can learn. You can carry your tricks everywhere. Street, it's even more amazing because it's all based on the maneuver, not as much of the feature. So, you have little Johnny skating with, the top pro of the decade at that time, and they're gonna all skate a curve. One's doing a crazy maneuver, and then little Johnny's just trying to jump up, or Jay. So, and so that's how that works. And the beauty of the street path is that it's gonna bring that multi-generation, and just kind of that flow. That's why there's, we're trying to do the whole linear thing. We're trying to have two parks in one, sort of speak. Here's another angle of that little fun zone transition area. Oh, the other theory is, if phase 3 bowl ever happens, it's not going to conflict with this. In fact, this will be, how I mentioned the street courts are multi-level. Transition is usually multi-style and multi-level. So they're both fall under the skate park, but they feel completely different. So our approach is, let's build something for fun, beginner, but also like doodle around, and then we build a bowl. It kind of it's the next level up. So there's not a conflict on that. They actually complement each other. The bowl's just a little bit more advanced, but not much. Here's another angle from the back. We want to concentrate in landscaping. We want to get rocks. I don't know what local rocks you have, but they're a lot better than retention walls. They look nicer, and they're just getting off those squares. Speaking of squares, we got a curb cut here, some landscaping, some local landscaping, some rocks, things like that to really create that vibe. So it looks really cool. One place that I did a lot of work in is in Colorado, and I love how they treat their landscaping. Like it's just, a lot of them, they'll use rocks and have a couple little paths up with some, kind of good trees in between, and it just really, it's like free shade. I know you guys want to talk ledges, I'm talking trees. All right, so here's another angle. Just get the perspective in there. And I want to hear I know what I think about all this, but eventually I want you guys to just kind of tell me your thoughts. And don't be nice, don't be mean, but don't be nice, like straight up talk to me. We are here to engage that. In the future, so if we have this trail coming in, we'd love to do a little offshoot to kind of connect to it, Hey, you're entering the skate park zone, boom, and then or you can go, normal zone, so it's we wanna really activate the area. It is narrow, I'm not gonna lie. The funny thing is, if I wanted a plaza in there, we'd still have this wall on the left, so it's a little tricky, but I love activating places that would normally just be like cow paths of, just some kids like doing stuff that's not cool, back there because no one's there. But with a trail or even just with a park with people there to practice something that they love, an activity outside, it's amazing. I'll be honest, one more thing. This isn't this, if it wasn't for the city administrative buildings right there, I wouldn't really be so into this. But because of that and the future trails, this is amazing. This is like really like, you're not buying someone's property because you made a mistake in your planning, not you, and then you're planning and then you're like, oh no, I gotta get more green space and more active places for the youth. No, you're creating something that was underutilized and it's beautiful and we're complementing. That's my opinion. The design challenges. We're looking at approximately 8,500 square feet on phase 1. That's fairly small. So it's kind of small side of a community skate park. You guys have a larger need in the region. So, push for that phase 3. Hybrid design, street, and transition. Doesn't have to be. If you guys saying, Tito, you're blowing it, man, get rid of the train, make it all street, I'll be like, fine. But this is your park. Talk to me. Tell me what you want. Landscaping, seating. We don't want to just drop an impervious slab in there and just like call it a day. This needs to look good. This needs to look plush. You guys, all the stuff like in that development, those old mills and stuff with all the housing, all the art spots, and all those restaurants. I mean, that's like such a rad thing. Like this town has like such a like small town, old school vibe, and then you have these like modern, like kind of spots right off the river and stuff. We want this to kind of match that, that future old school like mix. It's just beautiful, and we want the landscaping to help achieve that. Seating, etc. One thing that's not shown here, but you'll see on the second part, we're putting a fence between the government buildings, fire station, and police, because there's parking and stuff, and we just don't want we don't want to encourage any kids like skating to the parking lot to get to the park. So we really want to kind of create a border fence, that looks good and matches all the aesthetics that you already have throughout your city. That will be shown on the second meeting, so that you guys, we're showing the fence. Boop. It's on the left right there. See how beautiful it is? So anyways, so we're showing that, but one thing what we're not showing, and we're gonna wait till we get our environmental survey done, so we can see what our true boundaries are. And that way we're gonna adjust the park and try to thicken some areas out, just kind of get some breathing room. But it's some sort of environmental kind of fence to keep people from, going into those sensitive areas. But we are anti-fence, so we want to kind of create something that utilizes art and utilizes some like aesthetics to really create some stuff. I did this park in Virginia, and we did this awesome fence, and I think it's a great opportunity. So I can't wait till the next meeting so we show not only whatever we come up with tonight, but also these other ideas to kind of create those beautiful buffers that really accentuate the art of this town and whatnot. I see your hand up there. I'm going to get to you in just a second. So the parking lot fence, that's the one I just talked about, future trail and future bowl. SKP, that's my sign to get the 3D schematic. This is a picture from the meeting that you guys had before, that I think Angie and everyone put together. You got a great crew. But pretty much, I'm gonna bring the 3D, but at this time, in a way, just raise your hands and let's just talk. Yeah, you have your hand up first. Wait, what's your name?
Ori.
Oh, what?
Ori. O-R-R-I.
What's up, Ori? I'm Tito.
What if you're skating and then you mess up the trick and it just flies into the pond?
Okay, that's a very good question. So we have a 25-foot environmental buffer, and there's a bunch of trees there. So the odds are that if the board goes into the pond, you have to fall so fast that the board have to fly like 50 foot up, and another, whatever down, and then get past the trees in order to make it all the way. But that fence will be there to kind of discourage, like permanent activity there. But the fence, I don't think is going to be there to stop, animals from accessing the pond and things like that. And we're animals, so it works. All right. Yeah, next. Hi, what's your name? And you don't have to tell me your name if you don't want to. Wait, she was first. No, she was first.
For the proposed transition section, how tall and steep will those ramps be?
Very good question. I am thinking probably around 3.5 to 4.5 feet on average, and we're probably looking at anywhere from 6 to 7 foot radiuses. Most likely 6.5, because that's the magic little sweet number for that 3.5 to 4 foot height. So we have a theory. We don't want to stick coping out too much. We have slappy curves on the flat for that. We want someone to learn a 5-0 to fakie for 20 feet. or how to Smith grind or tricks like that. I don't know the scooter names for tricks, sorry, but you know that too. Any more questions? So that's a fantastic question. That's the technical side of this input meeting. Kudos to you. Who's the other person? What's up? What's your name?
My name is Cameron. Is there gonna be lights?
At this point, lights are not planned, but we are discussing them. I am gonna recommend, as long as it's good with city maintenance, because you know they have to take care of it. We're talking about good LED lights. LED lights are cheap. They don't cost much to the taxpayers. It brings the whole vibe of self-maintained. These parks are tanks. They're indestructible. You know, cleaning out trash and things like that by garbage and then landscaping will be the biggest maintenance issue. But it's not an issue because it's an active facility for youth. So yes, we're considering lights, and I want to be creative about it. But at the same time, there's a fine line between creativity and bulletproof. But yeah, LED are awesome as long as it works with whoever the city's already working with, so we don't give them a headache. There was another question over there too, somewhere. All right, Ori, did I get that right?
Yeah.
I forget names within seconds. I'm like Dory, the fish.
When is the park gonna be finished, like most likely?
I'm gonna let Jeff answer that because I'm terrible with dates. I forget my birthday all the time.
We don't know for sure. There's a lot of things involved with that. So we're at phase one. This is the first meeting that we're having to kind of get ideas. You can boil it all down to getting money and funds. The city has a long list of things that it wants to see. One of the things I will say is that there's a lot of needs, right? So there's always the needs. I should just say, I don't know. We don't know. There is a potential round of grant opportunities that opens up this July that we think we'll aim for. But that grant program has funded other parks. The one in Greenfield in particular got funded through, it's called the Park Program. And so if for some reason we don't apply for this July, we'll be applying the next July. And I would say in about a year from whenever those applications go in, we would hope to see a shovel in the ground. So if you're optimistic, we'd say sometime in late 2023. And if you're a little bit more conservative, we'd say probably 2024. But I will just say, there's a lot of momentum right now, and that's good. Planning takes, you just have to cast out a long timeline for this kind of stuff. Just for a quick example, we're gonna build a sidewalk to the new school at Mountain View, and that's 2026, and we got funded like this year. So that's a bigger project, but the example is that you have to go farther out. And it's gonna take people, sorry, Tito, I don't know if it's gonna take people to kind of stay.
No, I can jump in right now if you want.
Stay involved, because there's gonna be a few meetings where having people, come to show the support throughout, like even if it's next year, to call on the crew of people to say this is really important for, youth and people of all ages. So there is, a need to have people kind of show up at these meetings whenever they are. There's city council. There's people who, we're pretty, we haven't heard any naysayers or concerns, but they're out there. There's people who are going to be concerned about the city spending money on recreation, and especially sort of not organized sports, but it's something that there's momentum, and kind of now is the time to start to edge that forward. So
All right.
maybe 2023, maybe 2024.
All right, so thank you, Jeff. All right.
Does the park qualify for any of the marijuana funds that are now available? From the taxes from the marijuana businesses that are supposed to be put into community projects?
It's a good question. I think that the way those cannabis funds are supposed to be used is related to a potential impact or, something associated with having those dispensaries in Easthampton. So, I don't see the direct correlation, but there's nothing preventing one of those, businesses from donating. But in terms of using the funds that are collected, there's a lot of different things going on with that money. It's looking at roads, sidewalks near dispensaries and things like that. So This might be a stretch to directly access the funds, but I don't think it would stop, any of those companies from donating. And especially large chunks of money is what we're really gonna, we're gonna be in need of some large chunks of money to fund this.
All right, any questions for Jeff before I kick him out? I'm just joking.
Can I jump in on Jeff? So is there any dialogue going with the skate park foundation, formerly known as the Tony Hawk Skate Park Foundation?
Yes, if you didn't hear that, it was a question about the Tony Hawk Foundation,
Previously known as.
thanks, yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
So Tony Hawk Foundation, formerly known Tony Hawk Foundation, now the skate park project. Their grants are actually only about 10K on average. They have a couple per season. I think they have 2 or 3 seasons a year, I forget, that are 30K. And usually on the very low income communities or high need areas, kind of get priority on those things. But you can do it, but they'll do like a 10,000 or a 5,000 on average, but then you have to kind of have someone match it. So that, someone else has to donate $5
Right now,
grand.
it's a no.
No, but they are totally something worth going after, and they know who I am, so that's a good thing. And so they are approachable, and what you get most out of that is the marketing. Hey, these guys gave us this, can you also give that? Now, I'm gonna jump in and talk about what we have here. First of all, look around. Who's here for the skate park? Raise your hand. That's fantastic. You are in the council chambers, right? This is the council chambers. This is where you guys meet. So they meet once a month or something like that, and they come in here, and that meeting's open to the public. They have a free speaking in the beginning. Youngsters that want this park a little bit faster and all that, like you can come here and say, hey, if I lived here, hey, I'm Tito. I'm 5 years old. I want the skate park so I can skate. Like boom, and let them know they work for you. It's not the other way around. And so as a skater, often we grew up kind of not knowing that. We're just getting kicked out of everywhere. So now, we don't have organized sports means you have some coach getting paid to just coach. Who the coaches are? People my age. There's a lot of me's in there. And that you have a killer association that's like kind of taking over that duty, and it's really important that you guys all get involved and put pressure into your people to support this. It's called lobbying 101. Hey, I want this, because right now if you don't say anything, they're gonna say, well, we got to put all this money on Little League because, that's what we're supposed to do in the cities. Well, guess what? Let me give you a ROI, a return on investment comparison on Little League. In Florida, where Little League can go year-round, but not here, you top out at 5,000 users. That's a full-time baseball field. Full-time, right? That costs more money in 15 years, apples to apples, compared to a park bigger than this, right? That's $9 per user that the city pays for that Little League kid to go play. That you taxpayers pay. Skate park like this, 40 cents. So tell me what's good. They don't know. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know. So it's up to you guys and me a little bit to help out. And so organized sports are fantastic. But there's also other things that, not only get more stuff, but, skaters tend to be quiet. Bikers, inline skaters, so it helps all around that people, educate your government officials.
I have another question about the more technical skate park side.
Bring it, I love it.
I find with a lot of the parks around here, there's no space to kind of sit, because a lot of the kind of benches can also be used to skate, and it creates this weird, can I put my stuff here, can I sit here, or is this an obstacle? So I feel like having some specifically designated benches is very helpful.
You got it. That's the best. That's great input. I love it. I purposely don't have much in there other than sitting on some rock. But it's we want to put benches and all that. I'll get back to you. Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm good. My name's Bob McDonald.
What's up, Bob?
25 years ago, my wife and I raised $25,000 and built a skateboard park in town in 3 months' time. What happened to our skateboard park? They tore it down and they gave it away. Is the same thing gonna happen here? Where do you expect this money's gonna come from unless somebody steps forward and does this? The town ain't gonna give it to you. We did it and they took it away from us. And they didn't tell us about it. It's now standing in some little playground up in some other town.
That they didn't spell our son's name right. I want to know.
Don't say your son. Sorry for your loss.
When I went back and said, please, 3 months' time, in my son's obituary, we had money being donated to the skateboard park. And they took it away. I went down one day, it was gone. My father painted the sign, everything was just gone. And I went back and I asked them at the meeting, what's going to happen? They said, we promised to build another one, and your son's name will be on it. Can my son's name be on this as a memorial? That they took it away. I want to ask that. And I saw in the paper, I'm here today too, because I saw that there was no official skateboard park. That really made me angry and hurt me. There was an official skateboard park. It was called the David McDonald Memorial
It was
Skate
the
Park.
first one in the area, and they had to put a chain link fence 8 feet tall all the way around the thing because they didn't want the riffraff to be causing any trouble down there. They had to have a guard there that would open and close the thing with all these permission slips and everything else. And now, I'm glad. I hope we can get something like this. I really do. Because it's about damn time that something like this comes about in memory of the kids that need this. Not just a baseball field and a soccer field that half the population uses. What about these guys? That's awesome. I hope it works out. I hope you guys continue this, and I hope the fight brings us in less than 3 or 4 years.
I agree.
We did it.
Your passion, it's awesome. So, thank you for all you've done. And you know, like, I can't tell you how many generations I've seen fight for this. And it's like, it took like now the Olympics to bring this acceptance and things like that.
You're right.
And it's like, I mean, how far ahead were you in the battle? You know, like, I was, you know, and that's so awesome. And yet you're still here fighting for it. You know, you understood the need 20 years ago and you understand it today. So I really want to give you, you know,
I just want to add, I'm glad you guys are here. You know, I grew up in Easthampton. I was at your, you know, the park, you know, to the benefit of your son. But I wasn't involved in the city government until.
Neither were we. We
Yep,
raised the
so-
money and then they took over and they built it and then they gave it away.
Right. So I think you said you're happy about this, which I think that was the key. The key that we want to try to get is that there's a lot of support right now for this, and I'm hoping that you stay, you know, supportive, and we can talk about like a commemorative plaque or some way to acknowledge, you know, the history, because the history of skateboarding started then, and we're continuing it now. The thing I just wanted to really say, because it's hard, you know, we do have there's this person who writes for the newspapers here, and I think that came through the newspaper, or maybe hopefully I didn't put it out as an official with like quotes, but the thing I'm trying to say is that when people go back to that time and they say they, it's hard because that's a little bit of a word we need to unpack, because the they, most of they are gone. And so there's new people in city government, and I'm one of them, and I'm happy to be here to kind of be pushing this forward. There's a mayor who's supportive of this, and we have, you know, DPW is going to be sort of involved in over time being responsible for maintenance, and so we're trying to build those relationships now within the city government level, because it's not clear to me that existed then, and I think that is unfortunately what contributed to some of the actions that happened, you know, in the early 2000s. And so, you know, we have a different time frame right now, and so I just hope that what we can see is support, energy, momentum. Kind of, it's a little bit sad that it's taken this long, and there were plans in 2013, 2014 to put it at Millside Park, and I wasn't here, so I don't know exactly what happened, but that didn't happen. And so, you know, we're just trying to take this momentum now and make it happen. And hopefully it happens quicker than 3 years, but, you know, I am realistic. We're hoping that we make progress along that timeline and it doesn't just fade away, but it is something where in the next 1 to 3, we have to just kind of stay tuned and be patient.
And I'm gonna jump in on the 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm gonna get to you guys, but one really important thing is like what I was trying to emphasize about this group, this, this legacy crew, like passion. We have older skaters, younger people. You guys have the power to speed this up. I can't tell you how many times I have meetings like this, and then they're like, all right, well, you kids better find someone with a big wallet. Cities spend money already on so many things. They need your influence to prioritize that spending. It's as simple as that. Yes, grants are there to help offset that because you guys have to pay taxes, right? And so you want to offset it, but just saying, get involved. Listen to the committee, to the Easthampton committee, and then, and then which we can all also be in contact. And then it's the best when you see this power kind of go right to this meeting when they schedule to meet. We have officials here. It's just about, you already have some killer council people that are all about it. I know your mayor's down, someone over there is down, a few other people are down. So it's really about getting the rest to just understand, and so so I don't know the technicalities, that's Jeff's stuff, but man, I want to, I love fast tracking projects. I love coming, we're gonna do this concept. I mean, we're going fast on this, and then we're gonna come up with the next phase, and then we're gonna tailor the perfect skate park for what you have to spend, and then let's see what we can do. And that's gonna fall on you guys to get going. Now, we had some questions. Council.
Thank you. First of all, just thank you for being here, and the planner and the skate park committee folks, and certainly the public and folks who came here before with the old park. Just a quick question. I know the planner can answer this as well because he sits on the Commission of Disability. When you design these spaces, and especially in our city, when we design spaces like this, we want to make sure that's accessible to as many people or all people. How much of the design elements are designed in mind with what we call universal access and people with disabilities who might want to use the park as well with modified equipment?
That's a very good question. Actually, one of our partners, part of the border, they do events. They have an adaptive division, blind people. They go with the stick, hit the ledge, boom, skate it. It's insane, then all kinds of other people, missing limbs, et cetera, et cetera. It's beautiful. But skate parks don't adapt to that. We make things not with that in mind. More about engaging things, and we don't give those challenges to accommodate them. They accommodate to the challenges, and it's like that's what makes it awesome. And so all these events are happening in parks. A lot of them that I designed that I not once said, oh, I'm gonna do this for the guy in the wheelchair. You know what I mean? The guy that jumps wheels, that jumps the mega ramp. I mean, I was part of the first mega ramp ever built. Back when I worked with these guys called Team Payne. And it was an insane thing, like, whoa, we're gonna kill someone. This is crazy what we're building, oh my God. And then it's like, this guy in a wheelchair just jumps on it, So it's like, but when it gets to access for viewing, and that's like what that's why the trail comes here and they have mellow banks here. But if the second you're applying a 1 foot to 20 foot slope, you're kind of killing half the skate terrain, So it's a balancing act. But on the landscaping, the access, the trail, all that, absolutely. And so we're gonna facilitate so that, if you want to get, like when I say grade up to slab, that's in theory kind of somewhat accessible. You don't have a concrete wall with a rail. You could actually roll someone up on a wheelchair up there if he wants to learn how to drop in. So it's not designed, we have environmental boundaries to hold us from that. But we try our best to create a really fun, smooth, open atmosphere so that those things can happen, and those things happen naturally. So the answer is yes and no. Outside of the park for access, absolutely. Inside of the park, nah. That's the challenge that they want. Pure street course is it's awesome. There's already events. multiple events that are for adaptive. They call it adaptive division. Grind for Life does one. That's a guy that Mike Rogers, legend, has a nonprofit for benefiting cancer. He does that on his circuit, you know, and one of my partners runs that stuff. So yeah, I mean it's the truth. It's just the pretty truth. You first.
Hey, I'm Steven.
What's up, Steven?
So I've actually worked with Team Payne in the past. I'm from Florida, and on 2 parks.
Which ones?
In high school, Milton, Florida, and then Tallahassee.
Milton has a little spine.
Yeah.
It's really rough.
It is. It's really fun park.
There.
So here's the deal, though. I was in high school when that park went in.
Yeah, I was part of that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, except for when they built it, and then they flipped on the BMX community. And
yeah, that was that. What's it, the older lady? But yeah, that happened. Just so you know, one thing about us, I don't, you know, a lot of my brethren are like, no bikes. I am zero opposite. If we're gonna create a park, it's gonna be open for everyone. It's an all-wheel park, super friendly. We're friends. I'm from Orlando. That's it. We got Sub Rosa, Sparky. Those are all my homies. Trey Jones. He works for us sometimes. You know, like we love our bike friends, and you know, and I'm not gonna say I love inline skating, but the inline skating's out there. I'm not gonna, you know, it's kind of interesting now when I see some of people around. It's like, wow, look, there's one around. But you know, roller skating is a thing. But you know, all kudos if you're outside and doing exercise and learning on your own without a coach, doing anything. I'm your biggest fan. So, but anyways, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I just wanted to like it broke my heart in like a huge way.
Broke my heart too.
I not be able to ride there, and I was actually arrested because I went in and I was like, look, man, I spent 2 years trying to get this thing going. I'm going to ride it.
Yeah.
They told me I could ride it, and I couldn't ride it, and that was it.
I've
the only time I ever
seen
arrested
that
my whole life.
a few times.
I was 15.
What a bummer, and in a critical age.
Yeah.
That happened I did this park called in Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah.
And it was like a really cool park, and they did that too. And I was just like, but, and I'm like writing letters. I'm like, I designed the park, and I'm telling the news people, I'm like, I don't agree with your moves, and you know, the stuff just happened. So
yeah,
bummer. Yes, sorry. No, the gentleman behind you. Sorry.
First of all, my name is Matt Still. I'm one of the BMX riders in town. Thank you guys for coming. Huge, great turnout. BMX has been a thing here in town. I don't know if you guys, a lot of these guys know that, but not everybody else out here does. So BMX has been, it's like a hub for BMX. Like, I have a little hidden skate park here in town that no one knows about.
Hey.
So the BMX world, obviously we got the shaft, we had some jumps out in the woods for 20 years, they got plowed. You know, same thing happened with him, we helped them to the skate park and the town came in and said, opening day we couldn't go out and ride our bikes. Like everybody, it was like a bike community helped build it, you know, the memorial. So right there with you on that. Obviously, a lot of you guys are young faces in here, but the town used to have like 30 or 40 kids riding around here back in the day. So just a heads up, BMX, thank you. Thanks for being part of that. A lot of these guys know me from that. I still do BMX stunt shows, travel doing all that stuff still. But yeah, a pump track, I know that's been some talk. I know some people are trying to get that kind of fit into the same little game over here. So
I've designed pump tracks too. I've done a bunch of my last job, so I'm like, except I'm gonna make them better for skaters and bikers.
Well, that's awesome. Obviously,
Yeah, they're designed for mountain bikes. They just want you to go one way with, you got 2 hips here, they're awesome. Perfect.
I want to pull you over here. We're trying to record it and it's only focused.
Oh,
so come over here. So the BMX, definitely part of this. We want your input, so I think we gotta, now we're like, I gotta remember where that thing is. We're like, come back over here, buddy.
I mean, obviously,
Come right, stay right there. All right.
BMX has changed totally from my riding to what everybody else's. You know what I mean? So like, what my opinion is, obviously you got training, love it, I don't care. I'm not,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah. So that's the easy part, is that there's no discussion whatsoever to not have bikes part of this. So I don't know what happened when someone told like the community that wasn't gonna happen. I will do whatever I can as being
I
part
think
of
it's
this.
just the illusion of the skate park. And everybody says it's a skate park, not a bike park, which
Yeah.
is fine. We all know
Yeah.
that it's the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
definitely layered, man. It's layered over many years, and skating was very new. Skate parks were very new 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, and then it went through a growing pain.
Back in the day,
Okay.
they didn't have insurance because skate park was so new 25 years ago.
Well, that's the the insurance. Back then, that's when you're at the beginning and the cutting edge. You're gonna hit those snags. It's luckily now, 25 years later, it's been hashed out many times over for a municipality to have the proper insurance. So that doesn't seem at all to me to be a factor that we need to worry about. The pump park, I just want to hit it head on. It's like, so even though we're showing the bowl and the path, there has been some concerns and resistance from the public safety officials about having this go all the way behind their facility. So we have to make sure that we progress in a phased manner. So it's the first phase was going to be the skate park. The path is second and the bowl is third. Maybe one thing we can do with Tito is for the secondary design as part of the master plan, just see if it fits.
Adding more work on me, man.
Even so, what I don't know off the top of my head is the size or the area that you might need, and that would really dictate a lot of whether this can be a future component of the back, kind of the corner. But I think if it doesn't work out, I think we should talk about finding another location that could work.
I just see it, everybody's loving them. You know what I mean? Like, obviously,
They're great.
getting kids out there,
Yeah.
changing their lives by showing them that you can get out there and have some.
Yeah, they're great. They could be better, and Easthampton could have the better one. One that's good for skating and your type of biking, because
I
not just
so
mountain biking.
Keene, I don't know if you guys know about Keene. Keene has like dirt jumps that they kind of messed up. They used the trash dirt, and now all the tires get popped and stuff. But besides that, Keene has an awesome park there that's made out of just dirt though, so it's like very hard to get some of the younger kids, and obviously love to see these guys out there on the field, because some of the stuff I've seen that do on skate parks, I'd love to see them doing it on the pump tracks.
You got it.
Just using it actually for everything. So.
Awesome.
So I just want to shoot it out there.
I appreciate you coming here and kind of talking about your discipline, because it's important. I think everyone needs to see it. This is a community park, and you're part of that community. Obviously, this is the way. So thank you. Anything else? Because I'm gonna move on. We got a big room, gentlemen. You.
Okay, guys, my name's Derek. I'm a skater. I want to give props to the young man that said the lights are big thing when the sun goes down at 4:30. Also, I didn't know the story about the McDonald's, so thanks for sharing that. But I want to say also, maybe like on the street corners, like having a roof or a shed, some inexpensive covers for the rain. Because it rains out here, right? And so like parks like in the Northwest have some of that accommodations. I'm not sure what the price tags are, but even a subsection for rain days would be kind of cool. And then I just want to say the shallow wind pool, like on against the trail, they want to throw a deck on there. That looks pretty sketchy.
Where?
Yeah.
2-foot tight cord.
This one?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Honestly, we can put a deck, but we're trying to avoid that. It's more of a sculptural thing. It's so tight. It's avoiding that is for two reasons. That area is like at the very edge of the environmental zone. So if we find out that we have a little bit more breathing room, once we get that survey information in, cool. But if not, like we built a same feature in lot 11, and it's almost like a hybrid ledge. It's kind of like it's more of a kind quick feeble back. It's kind of pool shallow end. It's like, so it's not like where you're gonna drop in and you don't wanna, you wanna skid it sideways, not.
Falling over and buckling on it.
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to do, some sort of landscaping behind it, or maybe even art feature, you know, like, but yeah, so if we can, we'll give it a shot.
But big message is try to put some of it covered, so that some, who can skate as much as
I
possible.
can't tell you how much I would love that. Even
I'll
just
put it out
a
there for
trellis, you know, like something cool, like,
Even a misting.
I've done these parks in the Emirates and stuff, and they have these crazy shade sails, and it's just like they're like, yeah, get it, sure, go for it. But yeah, they are costly. You know, I did the park in the Bronx, and it was yeah, they didn't have prevailing wages, so it's like $250K for this park, and then the fence alone was $350. So you know, once you get, you know, we're working a lot for a little compared to everyone else. So it's just like when you're adding those roofs, we don't build those roofs, so those costs tend to go up. Wait, you sir, sorry, you already went. Just kidding. I'm getting back to you. Yes.
Hi everybody, my name is Omar Gomez.
Omar?
Yes, I'm the City Council President.
City Council President.
Yeah,
Thank
so-
you, Omar.
Acting mayor right now, Chip, don't let him.
But, yes.
Acting mayor right now.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. One of the person who support baseball and softball because I play baseball. And I think it's no against baseball versus skate park. I think we all can have stuff in our city. I think we have space for everybody.
I agree.
Saying that, my question is, I don't know anything about skate, right? Skate park, everything. But I love tournaments. So if this park design can bring people to have competitions or tournaments in our city, because I think that would be great, bringing people from everywhere, and in College Street, Main Street, everywhere. I think if that would be part of the project, I think it could be great.
Yeah, I think that the answer is yes. I mean, we really rely on your local skate shops to kind of really engage that. But you know, the problem that you have in your region is that you don't have a venue for that. This is a smaller park. But I can guarantee you that if we get all the phases in, and you tell your people, and you guys tell all your people to just like speed up the funding so we can get this thing built, then I can guarantee, like with all that, you know, the trail traffic and the different amenities spread out. I mean, and I'm already telling you, I'm gonna throw in a pump track in there too, just so you can really create, just visually, you know, just so you can really create a really cool, you know, the more eyes, the better, the more traffic, the better, that you know, you engage, you activate this underutilized like back lot that's waterfront. Oh my God, you know, let's get it going, you know. So as far as the event, the answer is yeah. I mean, I've seen parks in much smaller spots, but we gotta start getting away from just a skate park, because it's like saying, like, you know, a sports field or a sports whatever, you know, baseball, soccer, they all use balls, you know, skateboards, bikes, inline skates, roller skates, and then you have transition, you have street, you have different types of transitions. So we have like a multi-field operation in this little name called the skate park. And so we're trying to fit all that into this. We have two parks in here. We have a slight beginner transition area and a beautiful street course. So we prefer to this be all street and all training here and then pump track somewhere else. You know, like, so it's those are the challenges that we have to deal with because of, you know, we don't have a coach screaming for us or advocating for us. You know, you have these guys and they're not getting paid. The coach is getting paid. You know, no, they're not getting paid. Okay, damn. You got paid coaches. Anyway, so you know, the whole point is like we gotta like, you know, we're still this whole thing is still young in the eyes of the traditional sports. But the fact is, this is what our youth is doing. And they're the silent youth. They're the at-risk youth. They're the youth that are not out there bitching, not out there saying, or not getting a coach saying, come to the field. You know, they're like, they're going out on their own to learn on their own try on their own with not one person telling them, and then they achieve that success, and then they move on and continue for decades, you know, and that is a beautiful citizen. That is a smart, strong individual, and we're just trying to facilitate, especially these guys, a facility to kind of nurture that and encourage that. So that's why we're here, and I think all of you should give yourselves a hand for being here for this
I'll follow up and then I see the woman in the.
Just a second. I just want to add that Tito is right. We met every Wednesday, the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of the month. Come, talk to us. We are ready. We are here for you guys. So feel free.
You know what? 20 years of doing this, you're the first person that actually sent that invite out. That's awesome. Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to speak to what you were saying. I mean, I'm not a tournament. I don't bring a tournament with me, but I'm a mom, and I have kids who BMX, and skateboard, and scooter, and I travel to take them places, you know, all over the place. We drive an hour and a half to get to a place where we spend the day with bikes and scooters and skateboards. We have lunch, we get dinner, we support the town. And so as a mom, and I know lots of moms who do this, so I think if you build a place that kids want to be, moms are looking for
Right.
Can I echo that real quick? Something that, we have a web page for the project, and there have been a couple meetings from our Community Preservation Act committee, and then City Council made the vote to fund this design. And I just want to echo this because one thing that did come up is that the location downtown, with or without events, it will help draw more people into downtown, and that is a benefit that we have by this location. Similar situation where people come to the park, and if you're not engaged in the activity, you're kind of stuck sometimes in places that have nothing else around them, and so this would be unique for that purpose, and that's good. I did want to just clear the air, just real quick, say to lead us to this spot, we looked at every city-owned property that's sort of on this inventory, and many of them got ruled out for proximity to neighborhoods or other characteristics. You can't have this right next to houses, it's just not that compatible. We looked at Nonotuck and we looked at Millside Park, but as of right now, the Parks Department does not want to have the maintenance responsibilities for this. So we collectively have found this location which falls outside of that so that we can do this and kind of nudge this forward. And so the benefit of the downtown location is that it's an economic driver and it can support a lot of people coming and going. And so I just wanted to echo that. That we did look at as many other sites as we could, and we boiled it down to this. We looked at the new school, but for various reasons the school is just not going to be the best place for it either. So that brought us here, and some of that's captured in meetings, but I didn't want people to have to dig for that information as to why we landed in this spot. So
thank you for pointing that out, because that's we advise on site locations too. I mean, I've built parks where I was like, you shouldn't put it there, and then those things come true. So it's just one of those things that from experience. So, but I think because of the administrative buildings and then the actual landscaping and the environmental benefits as far as how beautiful it is with the pond and all that stuff, it's it really can discover diamond in the rough, so to speak. So yes, you have a question.
So I know a lot of skate parks behind schools have set times because of the school thing. So I think that it's good that it's not behind the school, so that you can have the whole day to skate and aren't really set within the hours after school gets out.
Hopefully there's no hours. I mean, if it's sunlight there, if it's lights, then whatever your programming calls out. But skaters, I mean, my mom used to let me skate till 3 in the morning because there was less cars. That's my mom. So anyways, yes.
I just wanted to say to people in here, if you really, really want this, you need to get a lot more people involved. Kids, get your friends, get more people, and get to the meetings and show everybody that if you really want this, get fundraisers going, do things. If you really want this, you gotta show them they want it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Matt.
What's up, Matt?
A couple of questions, technical things, I'm curious. I like how you're using the space, and you're given a space, and obviously you're trying to work with that. I'm wondering about bottlenecking coming from in between. What the footage is in between those two, the quarters that kind of come down there.
Yes.
Just that bottleneck area.
Yeah, it's like this is like a mini ramp, and then right here you kind of create this kind of standalone. This is typical ramp rules or bowl rules. It's just a little bit more abstract because it's open for line of sight and just from this kind of like got that DIY inspiration. But it's one of those things where you could almost separate it into two, the mini ramp and the other side. But then here and there you'll get someone, an ATV guy or lady, like going off and skating with a certain speed. So it kind of has, it's like a two-phase situation here. So it's how you skate it. I actually believe that it's a little tight, but it's just nature of the beast, what we got to deal with here. So because it is transition, you kind of have these unwritten rules of how you skate that. Like one at a time and all that, and there's some exceptions when you have like a big demo or an event where it just, things go nuts, and those skaters that are here probably know what that is like.
Joust.
Yeah, I don't know about joust. but yeah, it is, it's kind of like the theory is you have a little parallel area, kind of like a mini ramp. Again, that's your typical backyard 3.5 foot ramp. It looks tall because it is small. So if you guys say you want a plaza instead and get rid of all that, cool. If you want it all tranny and make one big giant tub, we can do that too. This is for you guys, So
I think you have a follow-up one too. Do you want to add some follow-up?
Wait, he's still going.
Yeah, a couple. So the second phase, the trail, and this has sort of been alluded to a little bit. Perfect place for a snake run down to the bowl, maybe.
Write that down.
But also,
so wait, to pick up on that, if that were to happen, it would probably replace what a pump track would be. Pump track would probably be a better option because it's more people. However, future funding and all that, what you're talking about would be a parallel run that would be fairly short because once we get to the end of this, over here, we're really tight on the environmental, easements. So, but from here to here, like an offshoot, maybe even behind it, would be sick, and it doesn't take that much, I think you showed me one part that had that, and it was and it could be better, less of that dead space in between, you can pump through, so it could be a hybrid pump track, like Snake Zone, first skate park, Kona, Jacksonville, me, boom, when I was 12, super hype.
They could always take this building down and move it to the Pepin School when they shut
Yeah,
down.
that's
One more maybe?
This is sort of other stuff. So I'm trying to think of a meeting like this where there's maybe 4, 5, 10, 20 people that don't want this because of all the reasons I'm sure that we can think of. First thing is parking. What is is parking for this going to be accessible in this parking lot back here?
Yep.
Because that's one of the number one things in Easthampton that is always talked about is parking.
I think like showstoppers, we think that parking is not the biggest issue here. If anything, it's probably the environmental constraints. Except for this is a large crowd. The expectation that this large crowd would be there all at one time, that's pretty low. Otherwise, the skate park's pretty compatible with the other uses that we have downtown. The lot back here, the highest time it's used is between 11 and 1 when all the city offices are full, especially the school departments here. And that window is pretty small, and I would just argue that window of time for skateboard use is it's not the peak time. So it's generally a compatible use. And we had questions about the farmers market. When an event like the farmers market just closes the whole lot, then everybody's going to need to look for a parking space somewhere else to get to the park. But that's also sort of like an 8 to 2 kind of time frame, 1 day a week on a Sunday. So those are kind of normal expected things. So we think that I professionally speaking think that this location is pretty good for the low level of things that people can be concerned with. And I just want to hit on lighting. I think lighting could work. We just have to be careful that it doesn't cast across the whole pond and there's a neighborhood across the way. But other than that, I think it's totally feasible to get lights here, as opposed to, one other location we looked at was behind Parsons Street School. The city has a 1 acre site, but it's surrounded by houses, and it's just not going to be compatible. And so we kind of ruled that one out. So I just want to hit that.
And I'll take what you meant. I know what you meant. If you want to talk to me after the meeting a little bit about that end, the bottleneck, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry, but ladies first. Yes.
Hi, I'm Angie.
Thank you.
I probably should have said this like 5 minutes ago, but I hate public speaking. A lot of BMXers are here tonight. Thank you, and I'm good friends with Stan over there. But I just want to say that it's important for us committee members to say this, that when we say skate park, we don't mean just skateboarders. I have a lot of friends that BMX. I have a lot of friends that roller skate. I don't know anybody that scooters, but we are very inclusive to everyone, and there's gonna be no way that we're gonna build a skate park that doesn't include other disciplines. It's just, you call it a skate park, but it's because calling it a wheel park is just kind of lame. So we're just gonna keep calling it a skate park. And thank you for coming. I'm very sorry about your loss, and I'm very sorry about the mishap with the skate park 20 years ago. I'm 28 and I've been skateboarding for 7 years, so I don't know anything about that. But I'm learning a little bit of the history. I'd love to talk to you more about it after maybe. But that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Tito. I was trying to go undercover before, but since my colleague identified himself, my name's Owen Center, as well. Couple things, I just want to piggyback off of something that was mentioned back there. There's really been some fantastic organizing going on around this. This crew over here of the skate park committee, give them a round of applause. And they can probably speak to this better than I can, but they've held a couple of great fundraisers and raised. How much money did you guys raise so far?
I mean, like 6 to 8,000. I don't know, to be honest.
All right. You don't want to be honest. And they have a city donation account, so look into that. Definitely contact the committee. Any money is good money. I want people to see clearly. We have the city planner here. We have myself. We have city council president, who I guess right now is technically the mayor, but that's going to change when the mayor's back. But the city behind us, we're holding this meeting in city council chambers. And as my colleague, Mr. Gomez, said earlier, show up to our meetings, show our colleagues, show the city how much you want this project, reach out to your councilors and representatives, bother the planner. Just to the McDonald's too, I've heard a little bit about the history of the fire park, and I do think that the city has some responsibility to honor that memory. So having a talk offline about, ways that I can help facilitate a conversation to see if that's something that works in the park. But again, thanks to everyone for coming and the committee, and I just wanted to make sure, donate frequently and donate high amounts if you can.
Is it taxes, like, do you guys a 501c or
We're working on a 501c3 right now, so we're hoping to get that set up this year. But right now, I believe if you make donations to the city, technically it's
Tax deductible, is that what your question was? Is that,
Yeah.
or?
Yes, I'd love to donate some money.
There you go. Yeah, so they can write it off.
Yeah, let's talk the details. I'm not, that's not my forte.
All right, so guys, and ladies, we're getting to the end of the time here. People are getting hungry and all that good stuff. But I want to, like, in the technical aspects, like, anyone have any more input on the design? I mean, what you mentioned about being kind of tight with the radiuses areas on that one end is very critical. You, with all your technical stuff, radiuses and transitions and heights, awesome. Anyone else? And yes.
Do you think the compost needs to be there, or I think it's fine? I think it just kind of might disrupt the flow a little bit.
I agree. Actually, I took it on and off like 10 times, and I just didn't know. And so I'm like, hey, let's see if someone spots that. So I agree. Just so you know, the theory of that volcano is super low with no coping, so it's kind of more like a mani pad trick. So my other option was to make an actual mogul, but I agree, it's already kind of tight. Let's figure that out. Love it. I'm actually gonna remove it. Yes, thank you.
I am mostly a roller skater, and coming from that perspective, I really love what I see with this park because it seems very accessible to like all types of wheels, and it just seems great.
Yeah.
It's nice to have even this land for something like this around here, and I love what I'm seeing.
Well, thank you for coming too, because like the roller skating community is growing exponentially, and it's awesome. And I love that you're being involved, and I thank you for kind of giving your input. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that we're having this meeting for Easthampton tonight, but Western Mass is traditionally underserved for public skateboard infrastructure. Greenfield, Springfield, Westfield, all are getting new skate parks. So if you like what you see here tonight, you should go to those meetings because they're open to everyone. And the more parks we get in the area, the more it inspires other communities to build parks as well.
Yeah, that's a good diversity to have around. I mean, we toured a bunch of parks, so I could see what was missing, and then you guys need a lot more. So I'm excited for all that news. I saw a hand over here, but I saw.
Yeah, just one thing I would love to see, and one thing that I've seen in a lot of smaller parks around the country that have just been really fun, is a decently tight transitioned vert wall, not super tall, but it could be placed in a lot of different places on this park, I think. Could add a lot, especially on the lower end of it. Yeah, they're just super fun, and I think they add a lot of spice to a park like that.
Agreed, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, like for the street section, it'd be cool to have like curves, like a legit like slappy curve.
Oh yeah.
You know, going to like California, like skate curve like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have that little bank one right there, but yeah, I agree with you. I actually pour curbs myself with pool block mix on curbs. Hey, I got hired to do a couple and I never turned them in. We skated them. Anyways, all right, so thank you. No, noted. I'm gonna find a place to put a cool slappy curb.
Well, one thing I was talking about a while ago was, or I guess like last night at the end of the street section, there could be potential maybe to put like a banked wall or something like that.
Yeah.
Just
This
to have,
end?
yeah, just have some sort of return on that side.
Okay.
Just fun.
First you don't want to return, then you want to return.
I was talking to Ed about it.
You could put a slappy curb right where that tight transition.
Well, we don't need 57 feet of ledges.
How long is that ledge?
57.
Yeah, so how long after you land before you hit the
Well,
grass?
the theory is you're not gonna hit it, and then someone mentioned about seating, and so it's like the most annoying part is like you got 3 dudes sitting on or dads sitting on the edge of the curb and still skate the curb, and then sometimes you'll get Tory Pudwell come in and backtail the whole thing. But obviously we need to get the trail connected in there, but we don't have enough information right now with the environmental survey to kind of promise that yet. But little
Just because we lost the wall ride on the bank.
I know, I was pretty hyped on it, but it's like
Go back to it. It's just
I actually like this better too.
Yeah, no,
But it's
I
not
like
my park, it's your park. So let's keep talking about that. Guys, we have a second meeting that's gonna come out after this. So I really appreciate everything. It's getting late. I appreciate you guys coming. Make sure you signed in. or get the QR code and give us your information so that we know how to get back with you. Thank you very much. Any last questions? Must, because we're gonna end this.
I have a question. The survey, the QR code, is there an email request in there? Is there a
There's
way?
an email request,
Okay.
there's a zip code, so when you tell your friends, the guy in California might not, get as much credit as the one that lives here.
Yeah.
And then the sign-in sheet, you can also put your email there. But yeah, the survey, tomorrow, we're gonna put in more images from the concept, so those friends that weren't making it because they're working or whatever other reason, we want everyone to have access to. So please, it's the QR code or the address at the bottom, either or. It took me forever to figure out how to do a QR code myself, so trust me, the address at the bottom will work. So, any other questions? I'll be here. You're welcome to come up to me. Thank you very much. Give yourself a I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for the next meeting.
Oh, roundabout.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.